And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
Before we hit record, but I'll say it so that people can hear it. I'm very excited to talk about this episode with you. I might go to say, even though like a lot didn't happen by way of comparisons to action from other episodes, this might be one of my favorite episodes of the Bad Batch. Period. Like across all seasons. Like I really like this episode.
I love that. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about it. I'm gonna. Oh my gosh, I'm just so like out of whack. I gotta sing my song.
I'm here. Let's sing it.
Right down.
Right down.
I'm gonna show you the moon.
That's not a moon.
No moon.
What
it's
is
a
it?
Death Star. Luke, you switched off your targeting computer. No, I didn't. I just put it down.
It's down.
Firing my missile at you.
I think I might just use the Force.
It's good to be back.
Because I'm the man. Now the Death Star doesn't have doors.
You are listening to And Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast.
A Star Wars podcast. Thank you, Matt. I'm Mikey, your host, the human holocron himself. Also
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
That's right, and I'm here with my brother in arms, my Broby One Kenobi, if you will, the Mace Windu dude.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue One checking in, baby. I'm excited. I'm revved up.
You checked in. You're
I'm revved up off. I'm hyped up off Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah, that's that good green stuff.
You know, don't drink Mountain Dew, kids. It's terrible for you.
If only it were true that it reduced your sperm count. If only.
So, funnily enough, it's funny that we talked about, injecting more comedy into these things. when that rumor came out, I called total bullshit, because if drinking Mountain Dew helped you prevent pregnancy, that would 1000% be the selling point of Mountain Dew. like
100%.
Condoms, Plan B, fuck out of here. Just drink Mountain Dew. Yeah, just drink Mountain Dew.
Baja blast your mouth before you Baja blast her vag.
There you go. Mountain Dew her without a condom.
Like her vag. Yeah. Mountain Dew it without a condom. Oh, that might be the title of the episode.
Name of this episode?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Mountain Dew it without a condom.
Well, I have a redaction from last week I need to make really quick.
Okay.
I said it was the reunion. It's the return. It was the return. Okay, whatever. I got the title wrong. I know the episode names have been out for a while. Nobody cares. But feel free, if you're listening to this in the past, to be mad and leave a comment on our previous episode. However, before we get started, as we always do, because we're probably going to be talking about characters who are no longer with us, and we don't want to ruin the emotional impact.
And we're probably going to talk about Dune.
And we are probably going to talk about it. But you're listening to And Are You Okay, your favorite place for not safe for work takes on the galaxy you know and love. And we are opening up a call for Ask Me Anythings. We do have one today, but feel free to shoot over to our Instagram or Twitter with an Ask Me Anything. Doesn't have to be Star Wars related, but certainly welcome Star Wars questions. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I am ready to hyper dive right into our episode recap before we talk about the bigger themes and other things that we liked about this episode. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, punch it,
to
Chewie.
go.
Okay, let me get started here. Omega wakes up from the best nap she's ever taken as Crosshair tries to get used to living on Pabu. Crosshair struggles to get his aim back as he trains to stall his shaky hand. Hunter can't bring himself to trust Crosshair just yet, but Wrecker says if Omega trusts him, he does too. Echo arrives on Pabu. Another heartfelt reunion ensues before the batch sit down to discuss the clones still imprisoned at Mount Tantus. Crosshair divulges he knows an Imperial base where they can get more information off of Nalice's datapad. Omega dunks on her younger sibling before the batch take off to Barton 4, where they dig their way into the Imperial base left behind from Crosshair's earlier mission. In order to get more info from the datapad, they need to reset the power at the compound. This turns off proximity sensors that kept away an ice worm. Crosshair goes to check the perimeter, where he is confronted by Hunter. The two argue as Batcher realizes something is wrong. Before they have a chance to finish their conversation, they're forced back into the depot by a giant ice worm. The batch come up with a plan to get the worm outside of the perimeter, which requires all of them to split up. Crosshair and Hunter drive it away, while Echo takes point and Wrecker restores power. Omega stays at the depot to restore the sensors as soon as they get the worm outside. After a thrilling series of events that send Hunter underground, Wrecker digging, and Crosshair to the rescue, the Bad Batch complete their mission. Wrecker embraces his brothers as Echo lets Omega know that this has always been their dynamic. He's just glad there's less blood this time around. Crosshair confides in Hunter that he has made a lot of mistakes, but that he thought he knew what he was doing, that he was being a good soldier. Hunter responds, nobody knew what was going on back then, letting his brother know that they all have regrets. But that doesn't mean there isn't hope for them in the future. What an episode.
Indeed. What an episode. Loved it.
Since I know you're dying to talk about this, please tell me, what were your favorite parts?
All of it. Short answer, all of it. Kind of touching on something that we had talked about last week, where we, had talked about that we both really enjoy when there is a bit of realism injected into character decisions, and it's not always just like, oh, TV show decisions, like, oh, hey, I would do that too in real life, which makes it more relatable. I absolutely love that they, for lack of a better term, shotgunned the team getting back on the same page. Like they could have easily drugged this out for 3 more episodes, Hunter just not trusting Crosshair, and it could have been like the typical, oh, each individual member starts to trust him until they all trust him. But the fact that the episode opened up with, like, yes, there was tension, but when like when Echo came back and gave Omega the big hug, and Crosshair was like, no hug for me, like I like that part. Like I like that, even though there's been like this betrayal and animosity amongst the brothers, like they're like, that's still my brother. Like, yes, I don't like you, or I didn't like you, but I've always loved you. Like, and I liked how they like really played into that, like even with Wrecker not being an emotionally intelligent person, like even him kind of like acknowledging, like with the whole him giving him the uniform back and him being like, yeah, it just never felt right getting rid of it. I took that as just like, hey, like there's a lot of feelings going on here. I don't really know how to process them, but I just lost a brother. I'm glad you're back. Like, and that kind of felt like the energy for everybody. It's just like, oh, we just lost Tech. We lost a brother. We gained another one back, not to necessarily like, replace it, but it I would imagine that it does help fill the pain. Like it does help, help the pain subside, that like Tech's gone, but Crosshair is back with the family. And I absolutely loved him and Hunter's dynamic throughout the whole episode, because I, again, was expecting it to be like a hard sell. Like I was expecting Hunter to be like, we can't trust him. He can't be here. Like, I got my eye on you. And even though he was shadowing him, they opened up the episode like when Omega woke up from her nap and she was just like, where's Crosshair? And like Hunter and Wrecker was like, yeah, like he's having issues. He's still not settled in yet. But it was like, it wasn't on some like, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't care. He shouldn't be here anyway. It was like, yeah, he's still having a rough go. Just give him some time. Like, they were understanding of his position. Like, yeah, you turned your back on us. Now you kind of coming back here with your tail between your legs. Like, it is a very humbling thing. They're not making it harder on him than it already is, which I liked a lot. that they're like, you know, Crosshair's a very proud person and Hunter's a very proud person. So I feel like that's why there's kind of like that unspoken thing. Like, yo, I know it took a lot for you to come back here, and it's a bitter pill that you got to swallow. And it's taken a lot for you to, like, you know, look me in my eyes after the conversation that we had in Camino and all that stuff and everything. Just how they handled the brothers and sister getting back together, and how it was more of a, we've had more good times than bad times. Let's focus on that type of energy. Like, we had a rough go where you joined the Empire, but we've been Clone Force 99 since we've been born. Right. And, you know, we're going to be Clone Force 99, and we're clearly in an era where clones are dispensable. We all we got. And I just really liked how, and they didn't throw it in our face. Like I said, it was like subtle, like the, oh, no hug for me, or he's still having issues adjusting. It didn't feel right getting rid of your suit. Hunter, like, wondering, like, you know, took a little, like, one of my favorite parts of the episode was, I liked the part where Hunter, well, there was several parts, but there was a part when they were on the ice planet where Hunter and Wrecker, like, kind of started arguing, and I don't remember what Hunter said, but it made Crosshair walk away, and Hunter kind of had like a look of regret on his face. It was when Crosshair like walked away and then found like the helmets from the other clone troopers and like put them up on the shelf. It was like whatever that conversation was right before that. I don't remember what it was, but Hunter said something, and it made Crosshair walk away, and then it kind of, the shot stayed with Hunter, and he kind of like, damn, probably shouldn't have said that, or there goes my attitude again. like type time.
I just want to call out, you know, not to toot our own horn here, but we made a big point about it. We definitely called it, but I think one thing that we both pointed out was, even though they subverted our expectations with the first 3 episodes of the season, our media literacy kind of, we knew they were going to resolve this very quickly, because there's a lot more story to be told.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, we definitely called it, but it's the best thing for the story, in my opinion, and I do really like how they handled it. They definitely needed to have this episode. And from, you said it's one of your favorites of the series. I think it's one of the best that has shown the dynamic of them as brothers in all of the episodes, which is kind of crazy to say, because we've been through a lot of adventures with them, but this one feels like it meant more. And I'm sure you'll agree with this, but Hunter and Crosshair's dynamic felt very Leonardo Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's really hard not to draw those parallels, but it definitely feels like there's that type of energy. And they do love each other, and there's always gonna, you know, I mean, I think when it comes to brothers, like, they're the only people that, like, I fucking hate them, but I also love them. My brother and I we're much better now, but we had a very, I think, strained relationship when we were younger. Like, Star Wars, ironically, is one of the only things that I feel like bonded over. We have very different outlooks on life, but we do still love each other, despite hating each other's guts and maybe being a little too competitive when it comes to video games. But hey, that's just how it is.
Hey, that's how bonds are forged. Iron sharpens iron.
Sibling rivalry, right?
Yeah, but you actually just said something that kind of made me think about it, and I think, because before we had hit record, I was saying that like you just said, I feel like this was maybe, if not my favorite, definitely one of my favorites of the series in its totality. And I think what you just said kind of put it in my brain as to why this was, in my opinion, one of the first instances of seeing the brotherhood dynamic. Because I feel like even in season 1, when they were all together before Crosshair jumped ship, or even in like when they were together in Clone Wars, for me, they just felt like a unit. Like, it didn't feel like a brotherhood. Like, it felt like, like, we're defective clones. Of course, they put us together. You know, like, it felt like the island of misfit toys. You know, like, unlikely bedfellows type situation. Like, like, we were saddled together because we were defective. They didn't want to put us. We're all cannon fodder. At least that's what they were supposed to be. Like, so, but it never really felt like a brotherhood. But then, like, when Omega came in, to the team in season 1, it still, for me, felt like they looked at her as the family. Like, they were like, all right, we're who we are. She's the family. Like, she's
the dynamic,
our sister.
The dynamic is not even I think in the first season they were very much dad or cool uncle energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in season 2, no. She's our sister. She's part of the squad. She has a role to play, right? And even more so, I mean, I think it's, it was a sly comment, and yes, she is a kid, but her conversation with Crosshair where she says, like,
I love
I'm
that
older
part.
than you, little brother.
Little brother.
It definitely shows her growth at this point, at this stage. Like, yeah, there was the phase where she was the really, like, young and naive one, and she became their equal. And now I think we're going to see, maybe it's Omega's emotional intelligence that she is going to bring to the table in this season that helps the batch complete, like, their goal and their mission, which would be great growth for her character as just being there. But also I think it's from a female empowerment perspective, I think that's good. I think when we were talking, Ray said something about like feminism coded, like type things that, like, were being said, like, especially between the conversation with Echo and Omega at the end. And it felt good. It feels good, I think, to see that type of representation, but it's also, like, to see it come from a bunch of, like, male characters at the same time too, without it being, like, shoved in your face. It's very much part of the story, I think, and we've been, like, building to this point, so the payoff's good.
Yeah, big facts. And just kind of like to go along with that point, it's like what you were saying, like, it was kind of like a dad, uncle, brother type bond. It now does feel like a family. And I don't know if this was intentional or accidental, but, like, with the baby Bobas from the last episode, they were saying, like, we're soldiers without an army. Like, what are we supposed to do? After Order 66, I feel like the batch kind of felt like that. Like, they were bonded by the fact that they're defective and that they're also going against Order 66. I feel like that's what the connection was. It didn't necessarily feel like a brotherhood. It's just like, hey, like, I got your back because you got my back. Like I'm a rock out with you because I came in here with you. Like, you're my guy based off, similar circumstances, trauma bonding and everything like that. And then I'd have to go back and check it, but I even feel like the term brother wasn't really used a lot, like in previous seasons. Like, I remember,
it's really the regs that use that term. Like Rex calls it, they're my brothers, you know what I mean? And he uses that word a lot. But you're right, the Bad Batch doesn't. They don't. I don't think they view themselves like that. Exactly. And maybe now we're seeing them kind of, like, start to realize that it's like, oh no, we, like, are a family, and, like, yeah, like, the other clones, like, they mean something to me. And maybe it's through Echo that they're starting to feel that, like, connection to the rest of them and their connection to clones like Rex. Yeah,
that makes sense because Echo was a reg at one point. Mm-hmm. So, like, that makes sense that, he would have brought that mentality. Even when Echo joined up with 99 in Clone Wars, like, with that episode, great episode, by the way, it just kind of felt like, oh, you're broken like us. Come on. Like, it wasn't like a, come on, brother. It was just like, hey, you're deformed like us.
Worlds, right. Like, his experiences that he's gone through, it's like, he can relate to the Bad Batch in a lot of ways. But what he came from was the Brotherhood of the Clone Army, the 501st that he, like, served in.
I'd want to go back and look, and maybe that'll be our homework for each other. I don't know how many times they referred to each other as brothers prior to Crosshair saying it to Hunter in their fight, when he was like, I was your brother too, and you left me behind. Like, I don't know how many times they used the brother moniker to each other before that conversation had happened. But like we were saying, it felt like an army. Like, it felt like, like a infantry, a division, like, that were together, that got time put in, missions put in, familiarity, and whatnot. It just, they're comfortable with one another because they're different from everybody. Exactly. But now this episode, like you said, like, the inside jokes, the Echo being like, oh, that's always been their dynamic. No one's bleeding. That's growth. Like, it just, the family aspect is there now. And I feel it. Like, it came through in this episode. Like I said, like, the conversations with Hunter and Crosshair, I'm very happy with how they chose to play that out. Like, I like probably most people, expected it to be a tense situation for a couple more episodes. And, you know, until they, like I said, like we predicted, a dangerous situation is going to force them to work together, and they'll figure it out that way, which is exactly what happened. I also want to point out another little teased possible relationship, which I think could play into a prediction that I have for a character moving forward if they survive. I'm really liking how randomly Badger is very attached to Crosshair. Like, I don't know why that happened. Like, maybe because, you know, fellow prisoners on Tantus. But it's just like, you know, when Crosshair goes off and does his own thing, pretty much every single time Badger goes with Crosshair. Like, even though Omega was the person who, like, you know, nurtured her, was a motherly figure, Badger goes where Crosshair goes. And I'm still kind of more on the side that Crosshair is not gonna make it out of the show. I still think he might be one of the ones that dies, but I could totally see a scenario where if he does survive, there's gonna be like a scene where Omega's like, you take Badger. Like if Crosshair like goes off and does his own thing, like, you know, hey, like, I want to figure out my own way out
for you.
Exactly. I could see, you know, like Crosshair being like, all right, guys, I want to make my own way. I've been a soldier for so long. I don't know what else to do. Like, you know, I want to go get you a piece of that life, like they said to Steve Rogers and things of that nature. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like I need to bring this up because it's just something that's been on my mind, I think, for the last couple of weeks. I love my dog. His name is Wally. He's a fantastic pup.
Shout out to Wally.
I hope he lives for 8 more years, maybe longer. It's like he's got Beagle in him, so he's immortal, essentially. Hopefully.
There you go.
But Rachel and I always thought that we were going to get like a pit bull as our like first dog. And like Thatcher is very much like a pit bull. I feel like there's no way in the future when we eventually, Wally's not great with other dogs, so it probably won't happen anytime soon. But if we do eventually get a pit bull, like, there's no way I'm not naming it Badger. Like, how do you? I have to. I'm literally. She's going to be hearing this for the first time. I'm keeping this little secret from her. So when she eventually listens to it, I better get a text message like, "Oh yeah, 100%."
Hell yeah! Phone about to go bring bring.
Yeah.
But I really like that random.
Dog, even though it's not a dog.
Yeah. Whatever it is, whatever breed of animal it is.
It's a lurka hound, is what it technically is.
Hound. Yeah. Got it. But I like how she like randomly is very attached to Crosshair and like follows him around.
Can we talk about, speaking of Batcher, can we talk about how funny it was when they were all digging and then Batcher like came over and was like, oh, like, let me get in there.
or when Wrecker had to do it later in the episode. He's
without Batcher.
That was great. That was great too. It was just so many great parts. One thing that I did like a lot is, I don't know if you like forecasted it, but I didn't. Like when Crosshair was like, oh, I know a place, I didn't think of that planet, the planet that he was on when he killed the Imperial soldier. I kind of was just like, oh yeah, new location. But then when they went, I was like, oh shit, call back, love it. Like, yeah, like I enjoyed that a lot.
I gotta be honest, like that was one of the things where I didn't know that that's where the episode was taking us, but when I saw like kind of like the ice planet in the trailer, I definitely made an assumption that I was like, oh, we're probably gonna go back.
Gotcha.
So I didn't like outwardly like call it here, but there was definitely a piece of me in the back of my mind that was like, yeah, they'll probably go back there. We're gonna touch on this when we get to the Easter egg section of the episode, but there is definitely some symbolism on that planet that I think is very important for Crosshair, so we can talk about then. But there's a couple other things that I just wanted to talk about before we, move on to other segments of the show. I really enjoyed the development that Hunter and Crosshair had in their like final conversation, because the parallels that they drew between the first episode of the series, Hunter makes a comment about like, killing my superiors is not like an objective of a mission, or I don't consider that like an objective of a mission. And Crosshair being very different from him and feeling like he was a good soldier following orders, the thing that makes him defect is the very thing that he thought was like the right path in the first place. And I just think that the writing
by the Batch's standards, I like that.
It's really interesting that he still kills the Imperial officer, a commanding officer, which is what he wanted to do in the first place. He was ready to kill Kanan, who's Caleb at the time, obviously, because he thought it was the right thing to do. And then it ends up actually being morally the right thing to do in his scenario when he's letting Mayday die in season 2. So I just thought the dynamic of that was like super interesting. So like he's like, I made mistakes, and it's like you're making like mistakes for the right reasons and the wrong reasons sometimes, I guess. But it's just like so weird. I think it's incredible writing. Continues to be the best show. It feels like nobody's watching, but
which is still
those parallels continue to kind of like show themselves, and I'm really curious to see like what else comes up as we dig deeper into this, because I just feel like they have set up a lot of scenarios where we're going to be able to call back to season 1 or season 2 and be like, oh fuck, they were setting this shit up, and they really like hit it home.
And even kind of, you just said another thing that just made a thought pop into my head. It's funny that, you know, Clone Force 99 are supposed to be like defective clones, and then within the dynamic of Clone Force 99, Crosshair's defect in the group was that he was more similar to the regs than the rest. So it's like a double layer of defectiveness. Like, all right, Clone Force 91, you guys don't fit in. Island of Misfit Toys, go over there. But then when Order 66 went in, Crosshair was the one that was most susceptible to it, just following orders, you know, just thought he was doing the right thing. So it's like within his own family of defective toys, he's still kind of separate from them because he wanted to actually do what he was supposed to be made for in the first place.
It's like he's always been on an island and now he's living on one.
Yeah, there you go.
Symbolism.
So that's why it's comfortable.
I do think
it's crazy.
The shaky hand thing is also something where I'm like, it concerns me because I, like you, feel like not all the members of the Bad Batch are going to walk away from this season. I wonder, I think that they're doing it on purpose to hopefully give him a moment where he has to make a shot and he pulls himself together to do it. But I wouldn't be surprised with how many tragic things have happened in this episode if he really needs to make a shot and he misses and it results in someone else.
Yeah. I'm of two headspaces with the shaky hand. My one is that it's literally that they're just trying to telegraph him having to steady his aim to do something really important, and he'll get it and get his confidence back and everything. But my other thought is, I feel like they keep making a point that it's like there's something wrong. It's not like him or he got like the shakes or the yips or something like that. It's not like something that they did to him is causing this issue. Like when Omega was just like, hey, they could probably fix that for you. Like it's like there's actually like an actual issue going on, whether that's they injected him with something or the torture that went on like caused like that's after effects. And it's my other side of it is, I think even the part where Echo was asking about like intel, like, oh, what's been going on, and you know, Crosshair was just like, you know, sorry, I wasn't getting updates while in my cell, you know, type time or whatever. Part of me feels like they're subtly keep referencing that like really bad shit is happening to the clones on Tantus, like worse than just blood testing and see who can, you know, M count can be transferred. And I feel like it might come up that like what Crosshair went through might come up, and then it'll be like, damn, like, bro, you've been holding this in the whole time, like type time.
No, it's
like,
a good point, because it's not I think Hunter asks him twice throughout this episode, like, what aren't you telling us? You know, and even at the end, when they have that conversation where they kind of come to an understanding, like, he still doesn't tell him what happened. So I think you're spot on with that. We'll have to see how that develops, and maybe we will find out some really dark, fucked up shit that happened to him.
That's what I'm saying. Because I feel like
it's a shame for the character, but it's probably going to be really good for the storytelling. So
because weirdly, and let me know if you kind of like have been rolling. Outside of being prisoners, it doesn't seem like bad things are happening on Tantus. Like, all we know is that Omega was like made to basically be an indentured servant. We know Crosshair.
There's that one who shakes a lot in his cell, which makes me feel like they're doing stuff to them.
Right, and I feel like that. So I feel like the fact that it's never been stated or seen or spoken on or referenced, like what they're doing to the clones on Tantus, and Crosshair's got the shakes, and like you said, the one that was in the cell that basically looked like he was like, you know, going through shock or whatever. I feel like that's going to be like a reveal, like, you know, like what they're actually doing to the clones on Tantus. Maybe it seems that they're already setting up a plan to help them break out, which we called forecast that as well. But I feel like maybe they're gonna reveal like the brutality that's actually happening to like give that extra motivation. Like, all right, you know, fuck that, we have to get these guys out, because it does still kind of feel like this is an Omega driven mission. Hunter and Wrecker's goal were to get Omega out, and she's out. You know, Rex and Echo are trying to liberate everybody, so obviously this kind of like falls under their jurisdiction by default. But they're not like, oh, we need to storm Tantus. They're like, oh, we need to liberate all the clones. So it's just like by default, of course, they're going to be involved. But
why can't Tantus be a small side project for these guys?
Why can't torture be compared? So many conflicting principles. But it feels like to me up through four. What's this? Those is the fifth episode. Fifth episode. It feels like up until this point right now that they're doing this because Omega feels really strongly about this. Like when she had mentioned, she was like, but I left them behind. Like, I feel bad because I left them behind. And because, you know, they're like the family, they're just like, all right, because if it's in like the Lion King, when Timon was just like, we're gonna fight your uncle for this, and he was like, it's my home, Timon. And he was just like, all right, Simba, well, if it's important to you, it's important to us. And I feel like that's kind of been the motive up until this point, that, oh, if it's important to Omega, it's important to us. But I feel like for us as a viewer, at least for me, I don't feel the weight of why they need to rescue the clones, because there's been so much non-information as to what's happening to them. And I'm starting to feel like it's intentional, so that like when we get that reveal of like what's been going on, it's like, oh shit, no, we definitely got to get them the fuck up out of there.
Yeah, that's a really good call out, and we'll obviously be monitoring the situation as we continue to watch. But yeah, I definitely think that you're on something with that thought process, and we have to, obviously things have to escalate at some point, right? It's not going to be all just like building up the arms to go to Tantus. You're right. There needs to be a little bit more motivation. There's stuff that Crosshair's keeping from, you know, not only his brothers but the audience. Like, and hopefully that reveal is a gut punch enough where we're just like, even I'm ready to storm Mount Tantus is how I want to.
Oh yeah,
what's been happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, animate me, throw me in, coach.
Hand me my pitchfork.
Yeah,
we're going to Tantus.
Any other closing thoughts, Matt, before we move on to the Easter eggs?
I'm trying to think of if the. Oh shit, I do have one. Thank you, because I would have forgot it. This is something that was so subtle, but it just kind of speaks to like how passionate and locked in the animators are for this show. I loved the final shot of the episode. Well, not the final shot, when they're leaving the planet and you kind of get like that far shot of the base and everything. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how geeked I was that like the actual trails of the ice worm were like,
I picked up on that too.
Like they were like accurate to how it was in the episode. Like with the line that went straight to the door, with the one that circled back to get Hunter. Like I was like, they didn't have to put that in.
Is really nice,
because I was like, no one's looked. Yeah, because I'm like, no one, like that could have just been a clean blanket of powdery snow, and people would have been none the wiser, except for like, oh yeah, 1000%. So like seeing them have like the separate trails that actually like mimic the ice worm's movements throughout the episode, I was like, that's fucking amazing that they thought that much to be like, all right, so first time the ice worm, he just went straight to the door, so straight line. Second time it's him coming back, but he stops and goes deeper to try to get Hunter. And then the last time he like circles around and comes up, so it was like it stops there. I thought that shit was amazing. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
So we know Tales of the Jedi is still in development, and like, yeah, obviously this isn't the end of Lucasfilm Animation, but they did put out, I saw on Twitter that they are hiring, so that means to me that there's another project
Come get us.
And I'm like, I'm just out here, I just can't wait to see more Star Wars animation. I'm glad it's not dying. So very excited about that.
If they need people in the writing room or the continuity room or the logic room, just come get us, baby. Just come get us. You know,
I am a human holocron. Just saying.
You know, don't flex is the wild. Look, I'll be an industry plant for Star Wars. That's fine. I can definitely turn on a switch and just say positive things about Disney. Come on, come get us, yeah. We're waiting.
All right. I'm going to shift over to the Easter eggs. Speaking of that last shot, the shot before it, so we see the Black Ice Vulture again from the Outpost, which is the episode in Season 2 where they're on the planet. The creators of the show have said that the creature symbolically represents Crosshair. When it flies towards the light at the end, I feel like this is likely representing Crosshair, like making the full transition to like, okay, he's good again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If there were any like doubts, like I think like that's over now. You had mentioned it already in the episode, but when Crosshair finds Mayday and the other clone troopers' armor left behind from his previous mission, he props their helmets up as a sign of respect. Obviously he felt, or that entire mission completely changed his character trajectory, and I'm sure he probably thinks about that a lot. And then one thing that I think it's the most meta thing that has ever been said in Star Wars by a character, but Wrecker says, "Why is there always a giant monster?" And there, quite literally, is almost always a giant monster. I feel like in the back.
Usually worm-like monsters.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Wink, wink.
Yeah. So speaking of worms, we finally got one, folks. We have a Ask Me Anything. Our guy, Jeremy. Thanks for sending one.
Jeremy.
We love
Shout out to Jeremy and Mrs. Jeremy and baby Jeremy, all the Jeremys.
Hell yeah, all the Jeremys.
All the Jeremys. We love the Jeremys.
We do. Jeremy asks, who is a famous director that you'd love to see their take on a Star Wars universe story? And, as apropos, because this week, Matt and I both saw Dune Part 2. And what a film. Dennis Villeneuve, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong.
Denis, you got the last name right.
I knew I said it wrong. Okay. Yeah, just a fucking incredible film. Obviously, Dune was one of the main influences for Star Wars. I will admit, I am very new to Dune. Really cool universe. I felt like I was trying. I think if I watch it a few more times, I will definitely know what's going on. It's a lot to take in and a little hard to follow. I think watching Part 1 a couple months ago, and then obviously Part 2 in theaters. But I gotta say, it was just very fun story, and for someone who a lot of the science fiction I feel like I take in is either Marvel or Star Wars related, it was just great to kind of like step outside that, and I think his take on Star Wars would be interesting. I have a few more directors I want to bring up, but we thought this was a good time to talk about Dune Part 2. So Matt, I'm gonna hand it off to you and just go ahead and gush about it for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, bro. So I'm a tad bit more familiar with Dune. I probably say that I went into a YouTube Dune wormhole maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. Wormhole. Double entendre. Don't ask him how. But I didn't know that, Dune is essentially responsible for Star Wars. George Lucas was very taken aback by the Paul Atreides stories, and, Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, like all of that was very much inspired by Dune. So me being a super Star Wars head, I was just like, oh shit, well, let me see what's up with Dune. And I just kind of fell into a Dune wormhole again. I've seen the original movie. I had seen it before as a kid, but it was one of those things like a relative was probably watching it and I was just like there. I will say, funnily enough, as a youth, I used to get Dune confused with Tremors, title wise, not movie wise. They're two completely different movies. But like the giant worm shit, I just kind of, when people would talk about Dune, I'd be like, oh, like, what is it? Wasn't Kevin Bacon in Tremors?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'd be like, Dune.
I love Tremors.
Yeah, me too. That's the original Sharknado. Well, yeah, but when people would talk about Dune, I'd be like, with Kevin Bacon? And they were like, no. So once I figured out that, you know, what Dune was, I am into it. I do know what happens, like the whole story, so I clearly won't spoil that for anybody because I wouldn't do that. Because I loved Dune 1. It came out during COVID, so it went straight to streamers. It didn't go in the movie theater. It went right on HBO Max, so I didn't get to experience it in the theater, but I loved it. Like I think as soon as I finished watching it, I watched it like again. Like as soon as it was done, I was like, I need to run that back because that shit was amazing. I've spoken on this podcast, DB4L, other podcast. I fucking love Timothée Chalamet. Love that guy. Mm-hmm. He is a mensch. Like I think he's great. And then obviously, you know, Zendaya is like perfection personified. Like what does
dude?
Just
what
the
a
cast
beautiful
as a whole.
cast. Everyone is so beautiful in that movie.
Them damn scars and them damn Skarsgårds. You know it's gonna be good if a Skarsgård's in it.
I'm sorry, my bad. Stellan Skarsgård is the only ugly character in that entire. But it's because it's intentional. He's a great big fat man.
It's intentional. Austin Butler is making a case for like being like that next generation of superstar with, you know, Elvis. I loved what he did in here as his character.
He did a really good job of making the viewer feel uncomfortable, in my opinion.
Funnily enough, I had seen a article. So you know the scene where he where Stellan Skarsgård's character like grants him, you know, like I guess leadership to take back Dune or Arrakis, and he like kisses him, and then Austin Butler's character like grabs his face again and like kisses him again. That was improvised. Yeah, that was an improvised scene. So the initial kiss was supposed to happen, but when he grabs his face again and kisses him back like really intensely, that was an improvised scene by Austin Butler, which I thought was like, because like you said, it made me feel very uncomfortable. Not a guy kissing a guy, that didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it's
just like the way he did it. It's the way he
weird.
did
it's
it.
Like he, I can't remember his. I think the one thing that, and this is definitely maybe a fault of my own for not being able to commit all of these.
They have hard names to remember.
Yeah,
they all
his
have very hard names.
His character does everything passionately.
Feed. I think his name was Feed or Fight.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Fight. Feyt, maybe, I don't know. But
yeah, something like that.
Fate. I don't know. But he does everything passionately, like to a disturbing degree.
Fade was his name. Fade Rotha, something like that. Fade Rotha was his name. Yeah, because I remember. His name was definitely Fade. Because I remember, because like they were in like that whiteout planet, and I was like, oh look, shade rhymes with fade. Like that's what made me think about that. But yeah, that movie. I'll get stuck here, so we could like do like
we'll have to move on to the question. This was. It was definitely something we both enjoyed.
Yeah, I will end this with the point that I made to you before we had hit record. It was undoubtedly one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, Dune 2, speaking of it. And second point, to relate it to Star Wars even more than it already is related, I feel like this series, because Denis said that he only wants to do one more, because the Dune story actually is very long. Like the novels, there's like mad books that go well past Paul Atreides. Like his son becomes a big player later on, this and the third. The sister, I guess the son part was kind of a spoiler, so I mean whatever. but it goes like deep into like the later years of like the Holy War that's coming and everything. But when Denis' version is done, the trilogy that he wants, because I don't know Universal. I can't think of. I think Universal is Dune 2. Dune is a Universal Studios film. I think. Don't quote me on that. I believe it is. I actually can just look it up. I'll look it up later.
Is Legendary Christopher Nolan's company?
I think so. Yeah.
Then I'm
believe pretty sure Legendary.
Yeah, he took it with him when he left Warner Brothers. Then.
I think Universal
maybe not, because I don't know why I feel like I remember seeing the Warner Brothers logo on the movie. movie when it started.
Oh no, shit! It is Warner Brothers. So what was I think? Oh, Universal. I was thinking that I was having a conversation about Fast and the Furious. Sorry. So with Warner Brothers, money's always gonna money. I imagine that when it's all said and done, this movie is probably about to break so many records. So like Denis saying that he only wants to do one more, Warner Brothers is probably going to pass the reins on to someone else after the third one. But the point that I want to try to make before I get stuck on this wheel is when Denis' trilogy is done, I feel like the next generation of nerddom is going to talk about those films the same way that we talk about Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, as like the science fiction trilogy that like inspired a generation of nerddom. Yeah,
it's so weird, like, because obviously I think we were really fortunate to grow up in a time where like we had Lord of the Rings and the prequel trilogy like right around the same time. So those kind of like defined our generation. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I feel like Dune has the capability to do that for the next generation, and the people in between will always have the peak of the MCU. So that's a good time to be alive for film viewing as well. But yeah, I think in terms of Jeremy's question, directors that I'd like to see take a Star Wars like universe story. Listen, I obviously love Christopher Nolan, so I feel like that goes.
But that's low hanging fruit. Christopher Nolan.
Fruit.
That's an easy one.
This is my other answer is also low hanging fruit, but I gotta be honest, like I just really trust them and feel like that they get storytelling in a way that like when a big universe is involved, you have to, like, when you're paying homage to it or trying to stick to what's going on, I definitely trust the Russo brothers to tackle a story, and they've already shown what they can do in the MCU. I guarantee that they would absolutely crush a fucking Star Wars movie, and likely not have the creative differences that a lot of the other filmmakers who've been trying to work with Lucasfilm have had in the past, and they'd be actually able to work with Lucasfilm and abide to some sort of, I guess, like brand guidelines that for some reason Christopher Lord and Miller couldn't hack it when it came to Solo, and they had to bring Ron Howard in. I feel like Anthony Russo, and why am I blanking on his brother's name?
Jay? I feel like that's an actor. I feel like Jay Russo's an actor. Like, actually,
but either way, I just feel like they could work within the confines, but still tell a really compelling story. Anthony Russo and Joe Russo. So you were close.
I was close. Jay. I mean, they might call him Jay. It might be his nickname.
But Matt, who do you think would be really good director for a Star Wars story?
I got three quickly because I didn't know this was the question, but I do have a couple. The one I'll say, not necessarily one, he's an amazing director, and I feel like he could tell a story. Science fiction probably isn't really his bag, but I'd be very interested to see what he would do with lightsabers, and the gore would be Quentin Tarantino, because I would love to see like a gory lightsaber fight with someone. Because I know it have to be
all Aqualish, because they actually bleed when you cut them with a lightsaber. No one else does. It gets cauterized.
Right. So that's what I was saying. I literally by 1 second. That's why we're so simpatico. I was going to say obviously because it's like, burning hot saber. It cauterizes the wounds immediately. But I would like to see, a Tarantino take a more gory Star Wars for a movie that has war in the title. We don't get a lot of blood. And obviously, I know that this is like geared towards a younger audience, and the blood isn't necessary. The story works perfectly fine without it. But that's one just to, like I said, I wouldn't be mad at seeing a leg get cut off and blood squirts out. That'd be cool. Like Titan.
I think the amount of blood that we see in like the MCU can be can be now lended to it. Like PG-13 movies can have a little more blood in them, and it's geared towards a younger audience. But America is also desensitized to violence at a point where it almost doesn't even matter anymore. So yeah, you're right. It would be nice to get a little bit more gorier of a story. Maybe that go back to listen to an old episode of Annie, Are You Okay, where we talked about our Star Wars horror films.
Podcast.
Maybe in our one where the
something like that. Yeah, ripping arms off. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Another one that I feel like is low hanging fruit, but I feel like it's one of those ones where it's like it's so obvious that I'm surprised that it hasn't happened. Fucking Steven Spielberg. him and George Lucas have done things together in the past.
I think I might have to go look this up, but I think he might have asked Steven to direct one of the original trilogy, because he didn't do Empire and Return of the Jedi. Yes, he did. Right. Irving Kershner did Empire, and fuck me, I can't believe I'm blanking on the director for Return of the Jedi.
It's all good. It's been a week.
But I'm the human holocron. I should.
Look,
I'm better than this.
You have so much data storage. You just shifting through the files, bro. You know, you're like the Jedi library, bro. Just shifting through the files.
It's been a long
lost
week.
The planet, Master Obi-Wan has had.
Richard Marquand. Jesus Christ, I was sitting in there somewhere. But yeah,
look, you was over here looking like Obi-Wan searching for Camino. But I feel like, you know, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are kind of synonymous with one another. They've done things together, and I feel like they both rose to fame and stayed relevant. Very similar career trajectories they've had. So I feel like that would just kind of be a very easy plug and play. And then my last one, a bit of a sleeper pick. I will say I pick him under the condition that I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want it to have anything to do with the Jedi. I think the Force part of it might take it out. But I would be down for a Tim Burton Star Wars movie. I feel like that would be like really cool. Like I said,
I could not disagree.
It would have to be,
with you, my friend.
That's fine. Like I said, I wouldn't want it to be like anywhere near like the Jedi or anything like that. Like I feel like it would have to be like a more street level film, like more like, you know, odd characters or whatnot. Because I'm a big Tim Burton fan, so I feel like that'd be
this will not shock you, but there are a couple directors who I just like. They have their niche and they can do their thing really well, but when they start to bleed into other things, I'm not a big fan. And Sam Raimi is on that list, and Tim Burton also happens to be on that list for me as well. So.
I mean, I'm rolling with you on Sam Raimi. Like, you're good at what you're good at, bro. stay there. Like,
please stay away from.
But like I said, I would only want Tim Burton under the concept that it would be something totally away from Skywalkers or Jedi or Sith or anything with the Force. Like, I would want it to be more street level, not necessarily a solo type films. That was more, you know, like gangster action. But yeah, just I don't know. There's so many weird, kooky characters like in Star Wars.
I think,
like
I kind of see where you're coming from.
Like a Hondo movie, like a Hondo movie or something.
I feel you. I'm like, I think maybe an episode of like a Star Wars television show before a movie would work for me.
I mean, we've been calling for a very specific actor to play Hondo, and that happens to be one of Tim Burton's go-to actors.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I guess it's like, is Taika Waititi like just as quirky as Tim Burton? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I would think
maybe
so.
I just believe in Taika a little more.
I
Tim
love
Burton,
Taika
all
Waititi.
I can think of is Beetlejuice, and you know, I'm sorry, but like the Batman Tim Burton movies, like I don't really fuck with those as much. But like, you know, I guess in Star Wars, maybe, you know what? If you're gonna have Tim Burton be involved, like you better have a cantina scene. So you're right. Like, yeah, maybe a Hondo movie would be perfect.
Yeah, like it would definitely, like a Tim Burton Star Wars film. I would need like humanoid characters to be the minority. Like I would want the majority of the characters to be, you know, like other alien species, because I feel like he thrives, and you know, he's another one that I appreciate because he is more of a practical makeup person, like instead as opposed to like CGI and stuff like that. And we've said this before. I feel like Star Wars is always at its best when they actually have makeup and costumes and puppets, as opposed to CGI and everything out.
Of that, and maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe this would be better in like a short form, like maybe like a mini series or like an anthology series. But Guillermo del Toro.
Oh yeah, I love
Guillermo. That's very alien heavy. You know, take some of the human characters out of it. I would be down for something like that in the Star Wars universe. I think that'd be really fun.
I'm rolling with that.
And he does that shit with perfection in mind. So.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I like that. Or Matt, one more, the OG Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. I'd be down for a Peter Jackson Star Wars film.
For sure. You know, I need to go look at like what he's made recently, because I I think all I think of him is
Lord of the Rings and King Kong. And King Kong.
I did not know he did King Kong, but that actually
the
tracks.
5-hour King Kong movie with Jack Black. No, that was
Jack
Kong Skull Island.
The
with Jack Black and I think was it Naomi Watts? I think it was either Naomi Watts or Nicole Kidman, but I'm pretty sure it was Naomi Watts.
Wasn't it also
Adrian Brody? What's Tom Hanks' son's name? Chet Hanks? Like, not the bad man. Definitely wasn't Chet Hanks. But it was with Jack Black. I'm pretty sure Naomi Watts. Adrian Brody was like the male lead in it. They had a lot of people in there, but it was like a really long movie. Like a really, really long movie. It was like 3 hours.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm probably not going to watch it.
It was good. But, it was like early 2000s.
Hey man, the kaiju audience is
after
eating right now. They're getting all sorts. They got Godzilla -1. They got Godzilla and Kong. They're coming together to fight something. I don't know what it is, but hey man,
you know what's funny?
Like monster movies,
so when I was seeing Dune and that the trailer for Godzilla and Kong came out, I had said to Jordan, shout out to Jordan, shout out to AOX, I was just like, when the original remake came out, like 2016, 15, 14, whatever that was, in my wildest of dreams, I would not have thought that this would have stretched out into a franchise. They're still making these damn movies, and I'm like, who's watching these, bro? Like, because they're not the best. They're not they're like the last one, where the first link up, the first collabo, John. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. Like I saw it because I felt like I had to, because like I was a big Godzilla fan. Fuck, I still like Godzilla 2000 with Matthew Broderick. I liked that movie.
It's weird. I enjoy that movie, and I feel like a lot of Godzilla fans do not like that movie.
They hate it. Like that movie has like the Scarlet Letter, but I enjoyed it.
We digress here at And Are You Okay? Speaking of the letters podcast. A and I, Are You Okay? You can type those in, followed by pod on Instagram or Twitter, and follow us there. That is the letters A and I, Are You Okay? And Are You Okay pod on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find our sister podcast, Dragon Ball for Life, where Matt and our good friend Travis talk about all things anime related, mostly the new Dragon Ball content that's coming out, in preparation for they're covering GT, the Grand Tour, and then they're also going to be covering Dragon Ball Daima as it comes out. So if you're a fan of Dragon Ball and voice actors,
and we're reviewing every Dragon Ball movie ever made.
That is also coming. So lots of content over there. You can follow them at DB4, the number 4, L _pod on Instagram and Twitter. And if you're on Facebook, you can find them at Dragon Ball, the number 4 Life. But yeah, that has been it from us here at And Are You Okay?
A Star Wars podcast. I got you, brother. But yeah, no, this was a good one. This is and for all you lifers / Animaniacs, we got some collab stuff coming on. Working title, what was it? Annie Minute Now is a working title that we're playing.
We're still working on it. We'll figure it out. I think that's
I really like that one. I really like that one.
Yeah, me too.
It probably will stick. But basically, we want to cover more than just Star Wars and Dragon Ball, but we feel like we've established an identity with these two podcasts that we do not want to step away from that for other people who just like what we do here in this space. So we will be doing a lot more collaborative things with me and Mikey, Trav, Yali all caps, Dragon Paul GT, the whole band. We're gonna be collabing on just nerd shit in general. So like when more Marvel movies come out.
Door of talking heads, talking about things that we're really passionate about outside of our two favorite things.
Yes, it's gonna be a revolving cast of 7 at any given time, just talking about the latest and greatest nerd shit that came out. It's gonna be a blasty blast
for sure. Well, Matt, you do the outro so eloquently, so I'm gonna let you.
I got you, good brother. Well, Animaniacs, we've been here before. We're here a lot. We're here weekly. We do this because we care. It's a labor of love. And so it's like we always say. It could be Dune Part 1, You know, it could be Dune Part 2. You know, it could be a start
bucket.
It could be the Dune popcorn bucket. Hey, it could even be Ray. Life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it, ain't he gonna be okay?
Be okay. May the force be with you, man.
And with you. Later, nerds.
Deuces.